Every expert in 1776 agreed on one thing. This would never work. They were wrong.
This is the army that was going to beat the British Empire. Barefoot, starving, freezing, and they were still here.
So why didn't they give up?
Britain was the most powerful empire on earth. Against them, farmers with muskets. 2,500 men died at Valley Forge, not in battle, from cold and starvation. And yet, and the ones who survived stayed. Why didn't they leave?
Because they were not fighting for a country. They were fighting for an idea that have never been tried at this scale. Ever. That people would govern themselves without a king.
They were outgunned, outmanned, and they fought anyway, for 7 years. Then on Christmas night, 1776, Washington crossed the Delaware in a snowstorm and attacked. Nobody expected it. It worked. The impossible war kept going.
7 years of war. Then it was over. The impossible country existed. And then they did something even harder. They tried to figure out what it actually was.
In 1803, Napoleon offered to sell America the entire middle third of a continent for 3 cents an acre. Jefferson may have just broken the Constitution to say yes. He did it anyway. Overnight, the country doubled in size. Nobody knew what was out there. Hundreds of different nations already lived on this land. America had just bought something it did not understand and could not control. President Jefferson sent 2 explorers west, Lewis and Clark, to find out what America had just purchased. They spent 2 years mapping it. What they found would define the next century and create the worst crisis the country had ever faced.
Because the new land carried a question nobody wanted to answer. Would slavery expand into it or stop? That question have been buried for decades. The new land ripped it open.
Millions of people moved west into the new land. And they carried with them the one question the country could not answer. Eventually, the compromises ran out.
Because every new piece of land raised the same question. Would slavery be allowed there or not? For decades, politicians found compromises. Then the compromises ran out, and Americans started shooting Americans.
The same country, the same language, Americans shooting Americans? 620,000 died. More than in every other American war combined. Think about that number.
4 years, the bloodiest conflict in America's history. In the center of it, one man carrying a weight nobody should have to carry.
One man held this together by refusing to let it fall apart. He had no guarantee it would work. Nobody did.
April 9, 1865, Lee surrendered. The Union survived. Slavery was abolished, but the wounds did not heal. They went underground, and the country that came out the other side started building faster than anything the world have ever seen.
620,000 dead. And the country that came out the other side was not the same country that went in.
In 1869, the Transcontinental Railroad connected the continent. 3,000 miles of track in 6 years. Then the steel mills. Then the skyscrapers. America didn't just grow, it exploded.
East meets West. For the first time in history, you could cross the entire continent in days. The country that could barely survive winter was now building more steel than the old empires combined. The machine age had arrived, and it was American. They were inventing a new kind of city, a new kind of country. And then, the world showed up to be part of it. The whole world decided America was the answer to something. 20 million people in 40 years, all arriving with nothing. That is what a country looks like when it is working.
Then it all stopped. October 1929, the stock market collapsed. Within 3 years, a quarter of the American workforce had nothing. No job, no money, no food.
Yesterday, this machine was running. Today, silence. A quarter of the country had no work, no money, no food. The dream had stopped. The most powerful industrial economy on Earth. And these men are waiting in line for bread. A new president told them,
"We have nothing to fear, but fear itself."
It took a decade to rebuild, and then the world called.
December 7th, 1941. Japan attacked Pearl Harbor before breakfast. America declared war the next day on Japan, Germany, Italy, all of it at once.
The country that had been trying to stay out of the war was suddenly in all of it. And it responded in a way nobody expected. Yesterday, cars. Today, tanks. America converted its entire industrial economy to war production in months. When the war ended in 1945, America was the only major power whose cities were still standing.
The broken country of 1932 have become in 13 years the most powerful military force in human history. And then it had to share the world with one other superpower. And that superpower had nuclear weapons. After World War II, two superpowers, America and the Soviet Union, both with enough nuclear weapons to end human civilizations. For 15 years, they circled each other. Then, in October 1962, Soviet nuclear missiles were discovered in Cuba, 19 miles from Florida. 13 days. The world held its breath.
These people don't know. 13 days from nuclear war. A Soviet submarine commander had authority to fire a nuclear torpedo. 2 said yes. 1 said no. That no is the reason this episode exists.
The crisis ended, and America responded the only way they knew how. By deciding to do something so enormous nobody could doubt it.
Roger all. Officers now have primary control of critical vehicle functions.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. Ben, both hands down about the 4th rung up.
July 20th, 1969. An American walked on the moon. 400,000 people worked to make this happen, and in this room, they watched it on a screen. One boot print in the dust of another world. The country that could not survive the winter of 1777 just walked on the moon.
8 years earlier, Kennedy had said,
"We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard."
They got there. The Soviet Union collapsed in 1991. America was the last superpower standing. And then, something nobody expected.
When the Soviet Union fell, America had no rival. And the country that had survived everything started fighting with itself. Not with guns, with words, with screens, with algorithms. This is where it ended up. From 13 colonies arguing about taxes to this. 250 years. 800 military bases in 70 countries. The most powerful military presence in human history.
And it cannot agree on what it is.
And back home, the country that built all of this cannot agree on what it believes. The steel mills of 1890 became the server forms of 2024. The power did not disappear. It changed form. America still runs the infrastructure the world depends on. The richest country on earth. And it cannot agree on what it is. Maybe that was always the point.
13 colonies in 1776 that should not survive the winter of 1777. They became a continent, a machine age, an arsenal, a superpower. None of that was inevitable. At every step, could have gone the other way.
Valley Forge, Gettysburg, the Depression, Cuba, and now the thing threatening it is not an empire, or a civil war, or a nuclear weapon. It is the question of whether the people inside it still believe in the same thing.
I keep thinking about that soldier at Valley Forge. Barefoot, starving, still there. Why did he stay?
Maybe because he believed in something that did not fully exist yet. America has always been a country that believed in something that did not fully exist yet. Maybe it still does.